Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and with the anniversary of the original iPhone being about 10 years ago, or it was 10 years ago a few days ago, I thought we'd go back and look at the last of the Steve Jobs era when it came to iOS and the iPhone itself. So this is an iPhone 4S. It's got a stainless steel band around the outside. It's got glass front and back. And this was basically the last design that we ever saw Steve Jobs present. And that had to do with the iPhone 4. He presented that. It was highly leaked, and it was a pretty revolutionary design as far as quality and overall build. When it comes to the phone itself, its big feature was a Retina display. It brought that to everything, and we've got that on just about everything today. So let's turn it on, and you'll see we have slide to unlock, and this is running iOS 6.1.3. And the nice thing about this is how smooth it is. I think after not using iOS for so long, or this version of iOS for so long, we forget how smooth and refined it really is. So there's really pretty much no lag. The iPhone 4S brought us Siri, so if I hold this down, "Hi, how are you today?" You'll see it works, and it works well. Everything about it just feels refined, and it's at the pinnacle of its refinement. Now, we do have some design elements that some people would say look dated today, of course, and many people still prefer this look until they switch to iPhone 7, or iOS 7 rather. The iOS 7 design, a lot of people didn't like this flat design. I actually like this design better. A lot of people prefer this one, and this has even changed. This is iOS 7, and it's changed since this to what we have on the iPhone 7 Plus. Now you'll see how tiny these phones look compared to the 7 Plus. This is the newer design of it, and a lot has changed. They've refined a lot of the app icons and everything else. So let's move this aside. And I thought with this version, we'd see how fast it is as far as it compares to an iPhone 7 Plus, just to see if it's something we remember as being smooth and fluid and fast, or if maybe it's just in our heads. So let's first open a couple apps and see how it goes. Now let's start with the weather app. So we'll open the weather app on both. If I open multitasking, you'll see it's not running. We only have a couple apps sitting there. So let's go back and open both of those apps up. So we'll open up weather and see how it goes. So pretty quick on both of them. Let's try it one more time. It's basically the same. Let's open the App Store and see how that loads. Now, we're both on the same Wi-Fi network, so that should be equally fast, but Wi-Fi is much faster on the newer devices. So it's pretty good. Now, apps won't run on this particular version of iOS. A lot of apps, such as Super Mario Run, it won't work on this particular device, unfortunately, running this version of iOS. Now for comparison, let me slide over the iPhone 4 running iOS 7, and with the newer style flat design operating system, we notice a pretty big slowdown on older hardware. So let's open weather, and there, it loaded. Let's try it again. So now it's pretty quick, but you'll see it was kind of choppy there. I'm not sure where that is, to be honest, but it's awful cold. See, it's kind of choppy. This is nice and smooth. But this is choppy and has a lot of frame rate drops. So let's open the App Store over here. Just open the App Store here. There, it finally loaded. Let's try it one more time. And so then it's okay. But the actual choppiness of the device is much greater, or at least it feels like it when you run iOS 7 or newer on one of the older devices. If we go back to the iPhone running 6.1.3, let's open a couple more apps. Let's open the camera app, for example. Now let me pick these up so we can see when we actually see out of them. So they both opened pretty quickly there. Let's try it again. That was pretty quick on both parts. A little bit slower on iOS 6 with the animation, but it's still acceptable. So not bad as far as that goes. Let's try Siri and see how quickly that pops up. About equal. So that's pretty good as well. So the thing is I have pretty fond memories of this particular device. it ran really smoothly and quick every time I used it. If I open Maps, wait for it to load, and there we go. And everything's just nice and fluid. And I think that's where we miss a lot of what's going on nowadays, especially on the older hardware. This refinement was just all over the place with iOS 6 and earlier. I think that was something that Steve Jobs was so incredibly picky about in a good way that we all benefited from it. So let's open up Safari. And I think this is where it's not so smooth or refined anymore. Let's hit go. And this had a cached version. Now, I've been on Safari before on this phone. But what we'll do is we'll wait for it to load. And this seems to be much slower on this device than on the iPhone 7. That's where there's a big leap. And that has to do with the application Safari itself. So that's not necessarily the phone. But they're both smooth when it comes to scrolling. Let's hit refresh. Do it one more time. And see where we're at. So we're already done on the iPhone 7 Plus. So we know that's a little bit faster. So basically, the overall usage of iOS 6.1.3 is really nice. So if you're running this, I don't think you're going to be upset about it. Let's open music, and I definitely miss this music style. Now, I don't have the app with anything on it, but here we have this new design, and I actually much prefer the music app design on the old iPhone. So that's pretty much it as far as the comparison goes. But when it comes to the use of this, battery life was pretty good. They'd worked that out where it wasn't using a whole lot of background app information. It didn't have really the multitasking the iPhone does now. And you're lacking quite a few features that we have now. You don't have the control center from the bottom anymore. If you want to change brightness, you have to go into settings and then go down to brightness and wallpaper. And then it goes over to brightness. If you want to turn on Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, you have to do that all through here, which isn't difficult. It's just an extra step instead of sliding up and hitting that. We do have the notifications, and we do have our search here, but that's pretty much it. There are a lot of features that are lacking that are in today's iOS versions. So, like I said, the control center, we don't have AirPlay, we don't have AirPlay mirroring, we don't have AirDrop, we don't have night shift, we don't have quick controls here. There's a lot of refinements they've made in this version that if you could have left it in this design and this refined version, which they couldn't have due to security and all sorts of things, I think it would have been much smoother. But it would have been really interesting to see what Steve Jobs would have made iOS today had he been alive to kind of guide that direction in the design as far as that goes. So that's pretty much it for iOS 6.1.3. I miss using it, although there's enough features in the new one that I still like using the new one, but I still do like this design. I think it's kind of a classic design today, and maybe someday we'll see something come back like that when that sort of look comes back into style. It could be many years from now, or who knows what's around the corner. But let me know what you think of iOS 6 versus iOS 7 and newer. What do you think as far as the speed? What are your memories as far as the older iPhones go? I have pretty positive memories about them, about all of them, and especially the iPhone 4 and 4S. So let me know in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe and like. And if you'd like this wallpaper, I'll leave a link to it in the description as well. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.